Picture this scenario, because it is a financial trap we have all fallen into, likely without realizing we just signed away our financial freedom for the next 7 years. You walk into a car dealership on a Saturday afternoon, you need a new car, your old one is making strange noises and the check engine light has been on for 3 months. You tell yourself, I'm going to be smart about this. I'm going to get something affordable, something practical. I don't need anything fancy, I just need reliable transportation. You've done your research, you know the car you want, you know what it should cost. You walk in feeling prepared, feeling confident, feeling like you're in control. Then you sit down with the finance guy. He's wearing a cheap suit and a big smile. He slides a piece of paper across the desk and says, "So what kind of monthly payment are we looking for today?" You think, that's a weird question, but you answer anyway. I don't know, maybe $400 a month, something around there? He nods enthusiastically like you just said something brilliant. He punches some numbers into his calculator. He slides the paper back across the desk. $427 a month for 72 months. Sign here. Your brain does a quick calculation. $427, that's only $27 more than I wanted to spend. That's less than $1 a day. I can handle that. The car is nice. It has heated seats. It has that new car smell. The payments are manageable. You sign the paperwork, you drive off the lot feeling like a responsible adult who just made a smart financial decision. You feel like you got a good deal. But you didn't get a good deal. You got destroyed. You just signed a contract that will drain over $30,000 from your bank account over the next 6 years. You financed a $35,000 car that will be worth $18,000 in 3 years. You're paying $3,200 in interest alone. And that $427 monthly payment, that innocent little number that felt manageable, is costing you over $150,000 in lost wealth over your lifetime. You didn't buy a car, you bought a financial anchor that will drag down every other financial goal you have for the next half-decade. That car payment isn't just $427 a month, it's the down payment on a house you won't be able to save for. It's the retirement account you won't be able to fund. It's the emergency fund you won't be able to build. It's the business you won't be able to start. It's the vacation you won't be able to take. It's the financial flexibility you won't have when life inevitably throws you a curveball. That car payment is a prison sentence, and you just locked yourself in for 72 months. My name is John, and I spent way too much time analyzing the mathematics of car ownership, the psychology of auto lending, and the predatory tactics that dealerships use to trap people in debt they can't escape. If you are someone who has a car payment right now, or if you're thinking about buying a car soon, or if you've ever wondered why you feel broke even though you make decent money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today, we're not talking about interest rates or lease versus buy. We're talking about why car payments have become the single biggest destroyer of middle-class wealth in America. Why a $500 monthly car payment is actually costing you over $2 million in lifetime wealth, and why the entire auto lending industry is designed to keep you trapped in an endless cycle of payments until you die. Let's start with the numbers, because most people have absolutely no idea how much their car is actually costing them. They know the monthly payment, that's it. They don't know the total cost. They don't know the opportunity cost. They don't know the hidden costs. They're flying blind, making one of the biggest financial decisions of their life based on one number that has been specifically engineered to hide the truth. According to Experian, the average car payment in America right now is $736 per month for new cars and $525 per month for used cars. The average loan term is 68 months for new cars and 66 months for used cars. Let me translate that for you. The average American is signing up to pay over $50,000 for a new car over almost 6 years, or over $34,000 for a used car. Half a decade of payments, half a decade of debt, half a decade of having that weight hanging over your head every single month. But here's what nobody tells you, what the dealership will never mention, what the commercials with happy families driving through mountains conveniently leave out. That car payment is just the beginning. It's just the tip of the financial iceberg that's about to sink your budget. Let's say you finance a $35,000 car at 7% interest for 72 months. Your monthly payment is $582. Over 6 years, you will pay $41,904. That's almost $7,000 in interest alone. But wait, it gets worse. You also have to insure that car. If you're under 30 or you live in an expensive state, you're paying $200 to $300 a month for full coverage insurance because the bank requires it since they own the car, not you. Let's say $250 a month. That's another $18,000 over 6 years. You also have to put gas in that car. Let's say you drive a reasonable amount, maybe 12,000 miles per year, and you get a reasonable 25 miles per gallon, and gas averages $3.50 per gallon. That's $1,680 per year in gas, or $10,080 over 6 years. You also have to maintain that car. Oil changes, tire rotations, new tires, brake pads, filters, fluids. If you're lucky and nothing major breaks, you're spending $1,200 a year on maintenance. That's $7,200 over 6 years. Add it all up. The car payment, the interest, the insurance, the gas, the maintenance, you're at $77,184 over 6 years. That's $12,864 per year. That's $1,072 per month for one car, for transportation. And at the end of those 6 years, when you finally paid off that $35,000 car, do you know what it's worth? If you're lucky, maybe $15,000. Maybe. You spent $77,000 to own something that's worth $15,000. You lost $62,000. That's not a purchase. That's a controlled financial demolition. Now, you might be thinking, okay, John, but I need a car. I have to get to work. What am I supposed to do, walk? And you're right. Most people need a car, but there's a massive difference between needing transportation and signing up for a $736 monthly payment on a brand new SUV because the dealership made it seem affordable. Here's what the car industry figured out decades ago, and it's the same psychological trick we talked about with the decoy effect. They figured out that people don't think in terms of total cost. They think in terms of monthly payment. If you walked into a dealership and they said, this car costs $50,000, your brain would immediately recoil. That's a massive number. That's more than some people make in a year. You'd walk away. But if they say, this is only $697 a month, your brain does different math. $697, that's less than $700. That's less than $25 a day. I spend more than that on lunch and coffee. I can afford that. And you sign. This is called payment framing, and it's the most powerful tool in the auto industry's arsenal. They've trained an entire generation to ask the wrong question. Instead of asking, how much does this car cost, people ask, what's the monthly payment? And the moment you ask that question, you've already lost. Because here's what happens when you focus on monthly payment. The dealership has 3 levers they can pull to make any monthly payment work. They can extend the loan term, they can increase the interest rate, they can convince you to put more money down, and they will manipulate all 3 of those variables to get you to the monthly payment you said you wanted while absolutely destroying you on the total cost. You say you want a $400 payment. They say, great, we can do $400, but it's going to be 84 months instead of 60. You just added 2 extra years of payments. You just added thousands in additional interest, but the monthly number feels right, so you sign. Or they say, we can do $400, but your interest rate is going to be 9% instead of 5% because of your credit. You just added $5,000 in additional interest over the life of the loan, but the monthly number feels right, so you sign. Or they say, we can do $400, but you need to put $5,000 down. You just pulled $5,000 out of your savings account, money that could have been earning interest or covering emergencies, and you handed it to the dealership. But the monthly number feels right, so you sign. The dealership doesn't care about the monthly payment. They care about the total amount of money they extract from you, and they figured out that the best way to maximize that number is to fixate you on a monthly payment that feels manageable while they quietly rob you blind on the back end. Let's talk about loan terms, because this is where the auto industry has made the most aggressive and destructive shift in the last 20 years. In the 1990s, the standard car loan was 48 months, 4 years. You financed a car, you paid it off in 4 years, you drove it for a few more years, and then you bought another one. The system worked. Today, the average loan term is 68 months, almost 6 years, and 84-month loans, that's 7 years, are becoming increasingly common. 7 years. Do you know what happens in 7 years? Everything. You get married, you get divorced, you have kids, you change jobs, you move. And through all of that life chaos, you're still making payments on a car you bought when you were a completely different person living a completely different life. The reason loan terms have extended is simple. Cars got more expensive, and instead of accepting that people can afford expensive cars, the auto industry decided to just stretch out the payments so the monthly number looked reasonable. It's financial engineering designed to hide the fact that you're buying something you can't afford. Here's the problem with long loan terms. For the first 3 to 4 years of a 6 or 7 year loan, you're underwater on the car. That means you owe more than the car is worth. Cars depreciate fastest in the first few years. A new car loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. It loses another 15% in the first year. By year 3, it's lost 40 to 50% of its original value. If you financed $35,000 and you've been making payments for 3 years, you've probably paid down $15,000 of the principal. You still owe $20,000, but the car is only worth $18,000. You're underwater by $2,000. If you want to sell the car or trade it in, you can't. You'd have to come up with $2,000 in cash just to get out of the loan. You're trapped. And this creates what I call the perpetual payment cycle. You're 3 years into your loan, you still owe more than the car is worth, but the car is starting to have problems. It needs new tires. The transmission is making noise. You're tired of it. You want something newer, something more reliable. So you go back to the dealership. They say, no problem, we'll trade in your old car. They appraise it at $16,000, even though it's worth $18,000, because dealerships always lowball trade-ins. You still owe $20,000. That means you have $4,000 in negative equity. The dealership says, no worries, we'll just roll that into your new loan. So now you're buying a new $35,000 car, but you're actually financing $39,000 because of the negative equity from your last car. Your monthly payment goes from $582 to $650. Your loan term is another 72 months, and you're right back where you started, except now you're even deeper in debt. This is how people end up with car payments for their entire adult life. They trade in before the loan is paid off, they roll negative equity into the new loan, and they're perpetually underwater, perpetually making payments, perpetually trapped. The auto industry has created a subscription model for car ownership, and people don't even realize they've subscribed. Now let's talk about the opportunity cost, because this is where car payments become truly catastrophic to your long-term wealth. Opportunity cost is the money you could have earned if you'd invested that monthly payment instead of giving it to a bank or a car company. And when you run the numbers, it's absolutely staggering. Let's say you're 25 years old. You have a choice. You can buy a $35,000 car with a $582 monthly payment for 6 years, or you can buy a $10,000 used car in cash and invest that $582 every month in an index fund earning an average of 10% per year, which is the historical average of the S&P 500. After 6 years, your car loan is paid off. Your $35,000 car is now worth $15,000, and you have $0 in investments. The person who bought the $10,000 car and invested the difference has $53,000 in their investment account. They're $53,000 ahead. But let's keep going. You both continue the pattern. You buy another $35,000 car with another 6-year loan. They keep their $10,000 car and keep investing $582 per month. After 12 years, you've paid off your second car, which is now worth $15,000. You have $0 in investments. They have $144,000 in their investment account. After 40 years, when you're both 65 and ready to retire, you've bought 6 or 7 cars over your lifetime. You've always had nice new cars with car payments. You have $0 in investments from those car payments. The person who bought cheap used cars and invested the difference has $3.8 million in their investment account. $3.8 million. That's the opportunity cost of car payments. That's what you're giving up. That's the retirement you're not going to have. That's the financial freedom you're trading for heated seats and a backup camera. And before you say, but John, that's not realistic. Nobody keeps the same $10,000 car for 40 years. You're right. Let's say they buy a new $10,000 used car every 5 years. That's $80,000 in cars over 40 years instead of 0. They still end up with over $3 million. The math still destroys the car payment strategy. This is why car payments are a wealth killer. It's not just the money you spend, it's the money you don't make because that cash is locked up in a depreciating asset instead of an appreciating investment. Let's talk about insurance, because this is another hidden cost that makes car payments even worse. When you finance a car, the bank requires you to carry full coverage insurance because the bank owns the car until you pay off the loan. If you total the car, they need to get their money back. So you're required to have comprehensive and collision coverage, which is expensive, especially if you're young or if you have any blemishes on your driving record. If you own a cheap car outright, you can drop comprehensive and collision and just carry liability. Your insurance drops from $250 a month to $80 a month. That's another $170 a month, another $2,040 per year that you are spending because you have a car payment. Over the life of a 6-year loan, that's over $12,000 in additional insurance costs that you wouldn't have if you just owned a cheap car outright. Add that to the opportunity cost, and you're easily over $4 million in lost lifetime wealth. Now let's talk about the psychology of why people do this, why smart people, educated people, people who should know better, walk into dealerships and sign up for 6-year loans on depreciating assets. It comes down to 3 psychological traps: social comparison, lifestyle signaling, and the normalization of debt. Social comparison is the idea that we judge our success not by our absolute wealth or happiness, but by how we stack up against the people around us. If your coworker shows up in a new BMW, you feel pressure to upgrade your car. If your neighbor buys a new truck, you start thinking your car looks old and embarrassing. We're in a constant arms race of consumption, trying to keep up, trying to signal that we're doing well, that we're successful, that we've made it. The car is the most visible symbol of wealth in American culture. People see your car every day. They don't see your retirement account. They don't see your investment portfolio. They see the car in your driveway, the car you pull up in, the car you drive. And the auto industry has spent billions of dollars convincing us that the car we drive defines who we are. They sell us an identity. You're not buying a Jeep, you're buying adventure and freedom. You're not buying a BMW, you're buying luxury and success. You're not buying a truck, you're buying masculinity and toughness. The car becomes a statement about who you are, and people will go into massive debt to make that statement. Lifestyle signaling is closely related. We want people to think we're doing well. We want to project success. And in a culture where success is measured by consumption, by the stuff you have, the car becomes critical. You can't show up to a corporate job in a 15-year-old Honda Civic with a dent in the door. People will think you're struggling. They'll think you're unsuccessful. So you finance a nice car you can't afford to signal that you're doing well, even if you're actually drowning in debt. And the normalization of debt is the final piece. Car payments have become so ubiquitous, so completely standard, that people don't even question them anymore. Everyone has a car payment. It's just part of life, like rent or utilities. The idea of not having a car payment seems weird, seems irresponsible even, like you're driving some junker that's going to break down and leave you stranded. The auto industry has successfully convinced an entire society that debt is normal, that payments are just how you buy a car, that financing is smart. And people have internalized that message so completely that they don't even consider the alternative. So what's the alternative? How do you escape the car payment trap? How do you get reliable transportation without destroying your financial future? The answer is simple, but it requires you to completely reject everything the auto industry has taught you. You buy used cars with cash. That's it. That's the entire strategy. You save up $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, depending on your budget and your needs. You buy a reliable used car. Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, Mazda 3, Subaru Outback, something boring, something reliable, something with a good track record. You drive that car for 5 years. You maintain it properly. Oil changes every 5,000 miles. You fix things when they break. You don't ignore warning lights. And while you're driving that car, you save the money you would have spent on a car payment. $500 a month, $600 a month, whatever. You save it aggressively. And in 3 or 4 years, you have $25,000 in cash. You sell your old car for $3,000 or $4,000. Now you have $28,000 or $29,000. You buy a much nicer used car for $20,000. You still have $8,000 or $9,000 left over. You keep saving. You repeat the process. Within 10 years of following this strategy, you're driving nice, relatively new used cars, and you have a six-figure investment account. You're building wealth instead of destroying it. You're investing in assets that appreciate instead of assets that depreciate. But this requires discipline. It requires you to resist social pressure. It requires you to not care what your coworkers think about your car. It requires you to value financial freedom more than status symbols. And most people can't do it. Most people would rather have the new car and the payment than the old car and the investment account. And that's why most people retire broke. The car payment isn't just a monthly expense. It's a decision about what kind of life you want to live. Do you want to live a life where you're always making payments, always in debt, always working to pay for things you bought years ago? Or do you want to live a life where your money works for you, where your investments compound, where you have freedom and flexibility and options? Your car payment is worse than you think. It's not $500 a month. It's your financial future. It's your retirement. It's your freedom. And every month you make that payment, you're choosing the shiny car over the secure future. If this video made you rethink that car payment, if you suddenly realize that the payment you thought was manageable is actually destroying your wealth, share it with someone who's thinking about buying a new car. We need to stop normalizing debt. We need to stop treating car payments like a fact of life. Thanks for watching The Penny Plan, and I'll see you in the next one.